Hi everyone, I'm Frida and I'm back with another video. Before we get started, I would like to let you know that I started a Patreon. Please support my channel there so I can make more interesting videos in the future. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this Cicada Cloisonne Enamel pendant. Let's get to it. I started with, as always, cutting out the shape of the pendant. I used my saw for that. When that was done, I filed the edges and I decided to make the cicada's body more three-dimensional, so I used my hammer and my yoga mat to do that. I wanted the wings to be flat or slightly curved only, so I went back and forth between my mat and my block to form the wings. So this is how it turned out and I'm happy with it. So let's get the enameling started. I started with sifting black opaque enamel on the back and I fired it off camera and did 2 coats. As you can see, oxides develop on the other side of the pendant, so I had to pickle it in between each firing. This is how the back turned out, and I'm going to torch fire this piece all the way through, so I'm going to show you how the back going to look like after several torch firing. And now it's time to sift the clear fuse on the front. That's what I'm doing here. I'm firing it with my torch. It's going to turn black for a moment as the oxides develop, but if you wait a little bit and keep firing, the oxide is going to dissolve in front of your eyes. The next step is to fold the cloisonne wires. I'm using pliers and tweezers to form them. I'm working with copper wires here. I'm putting the wires on the surface of the pendant right away using glue. The glue is going to keep them in place until the next firing. This is the third insect pendant I'm making. I made a sphinx moth and a bee before. Please check those videos out if you're interested. Folding these wires are a time-consuming process, so I sped up this video as you can see. When every wire was in place, I waited until the glue dried and fired the piece off camera with my torch. A very important thing is, if you work with copper wires, that you have to pickle the piece after each firing because oxides develop on the surface of the wires. When the wires were nice and clean, I rinsed it with water and I started to apply the colors. Here I'm applying an opaque orange enamel on the eyes and on some parts of the wings also. I noticed that when I was working with copper, that in the small sections the transparent enamels didn't show up as bright as I wanted them to be. You have to be careful though with mixing transparent and opaque enamels in one project because the effect can turn out really weird. I applied opalescent white on the wings and I tried to go with the orange color very lightly. For the body, I've chosen turquoise and I added some olive green for highlights. When I torch fire enamel, I usually dry it out with my torch, holding the torch further, and when it was dry, I went ahead and fired it. I pickled it again and after that I started to apply the next layer of enamel. The cicada is the symbol of transformation and resurrection because of its very fascinating life cycle. Newly hatched insects drop from branches to burrow themselves into the ground. They stay there for as long as 17 years before emerging to the sunlight. I'm almost done with the second layer here, and when I was done I fired it off camera. Enamel shrinks during firing, so I found it necessary to apply a third layer. I did that off camera. When it was done, I went ahead and started to sand the piece. I'm using diamond pads and lots of water for this. We do this to smooth out the surface and expose the wires. Enamel loses its shine during the sanding process, so I fired it again off camera to get the shine back. I promise that I'm going to show you the back after all this torch firing. This is it. It burnt a little bit on the head, but I think it's acceptable. I'm going to put it in the setting anyway, so it doesn't really matter how it looks. So I put it in a setting and this is how it turned out. I really like to work with copper also. It makes me feel like the jewelry is more old, ancient. It has a totally different vibe than silver does. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please consider to support me on Patreon and please subscribe to my channel and like and share my videos. Thanks for watching. Bye!